Target 3.1 from the final review starts on question 18, and it says given the following functions, g of x equal to x squared plus 3x minus 10 and h of x equal to the square root of x plus 2, evaluate each of the following. Now this is the copy I printed off. As you can tell in my paper, there's like a big number 2 and a big line across. It's just the copy I printed off messed up a little bit. But in this question, with the functions that you're given here, all we're really going to be doing is they give you the input. That's what the numbers are inside the parentheses. For part A, the input is 2. For part B, the input is -3, and so on. And what you need to do is think about these functions almost like a machine, where you're plugging something in and then something is spit out the other end of the machine. Okay, kind of like a conveyor belt. Brings some number in, does something inside, and then spits it out the other side as some new object, or in this case it's going to be a new number. So what we're going to do is we're taking the inputs and we're just plugging them directly into the functions. So if you look at part A, it says g of 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that function g of x, which is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 10, and replace the x's with a 2. So it becomes g of 2 equals 2 squared instead of x squared plus 3 times 2 instead of 3 times x minus 10. And then it's very simple. From there we just go through and step by step simplify this down till we can get one number. So 2 squared equals 4, 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have the minus 10, and if we do 4 plus 6, that's positive 10, subtract 10, and we get 0. So g of 2 is equal to 0. So that's part A. Part B, we do the exact same thing. We take the g of x function, and we replace the x with a -3, so g of -3 equals -3 squared plus 3 times -3 minus 10. And again, we go back and we simplify. If you do -3 squared, it's a negative times a negative, which is positive 9, plus 3 times -3. Positive times a negative is a negative, so now we're adding -9, and then again we subtract 10 at the end. So we have 9 plus -9, that gives us 0, and then we're subtracting 10 away from that, so we end up with -10. So g of -3 is equal to -10. Part C, now we're dealing with this h of x function, and again h of x was equal to the square root of x plus 2. So now we're replacing x once more. This time we're replacing it with the input, which is 10. So we plug 10 into the equation. H of 10 equals the square root of 10 plus 2. If we simplify 10 plus 2, that's 12. So where you need to take the square root of 12. And if you do that, if you plug in the square root of 12, it's not a nice number, it's a long decimal, but you get 3.464, something pretty close to that. And then finally we look at part D, which is h of -1. So if I take -1 and plug it into the equation, I have h of -1 equals the square root of -1 plus 2. Again, instead of x plus 2, we have -1 plus 2. Simplify that, and that becomes the square root of 1, and the square root of 1 is just 1. So we have all of our answers here, parts A, B, C, and D. Again, you just replace the x for whatever particular function you're looking at, whether it's g or h, with the input that you're given. And we know it's the input because it is inside the parentheses. I like to tell my class, think about the input as being inside the parentheses when you're given the expression in function notation. Now, I do want to add on a bonus question here just to kind of show you how a more challenging problem could be presented, where you may be asked to combine two different functions. So if you look at this bonus question here, if we have the same two functions, g of x equals x squared plus 3x minus 10, and h of x equals square root of x plus 2. If you come across one that looks something like this, where it says g of h of -1, what this is doing is it's basically saying, take h of -1 and figure out what that would be, and then take that answer and plug it into the g of x function. So the way that works is we would first take the very inside function, the most inner part, which is just h of -1, and we would figure out what that equals. Now we just did this one, but I'll work it out again real quick. H of -1 equals the square root of -1 plus 2. We're just replacing x with -1. Simplify that and you get the square root of 1. Simplify that and you just get 1. Okay, now if you look, we have g of h of -1, but we just found out that h of -1 is equal to 1. So what I'm going to do is what is called a substitution. Since those two things are equal, since h of -1 equals 1, I can replace the h of -1 in the original expression with that 1. So now we have g of 1. And what I'm going to do is just now take that input, now that it's been simplified a little bit, and we're going to plug 1 back into the g of x function. So I'm going to replace all the x's from g of x with a 1. So it becomes g of 1 equals 1 squared plus 3 times 1 minus 10. And you can sort of glance back up at that top equation to see the x squared plus 3x minus 10. You can see how we've just replaced the x's with 1s. Simplify that a little bit. It's very simple. You get 1 plus 3 minus 10. And if you add 1 plus 3, that's 4. Take away 10, you get negative 6. So the entire expression, g of h of negative 1, simplifies down to negative 6. And that's our answer here. So I just wanted to kind of present a little bit more challenging of a problem where you're having to combine two different functions. But it's the same concept, just sort of taken to the next step, where you find one answer and then plug it in to another function to get your final answer. Okay. Any other questions, you can leave a comment or send an email to me at zachary.wooten@bcsemail.org. zachary.wooten@bcsemail.org. So send me an email or leave a comment, and I'd be glad to try and help you out in any other way I can. Good luck on your tests, and good luck on your finals.